Okay, we'll begin with, I don't know if people enjoy this, but I like to prepare these things, so. Start with a brief bio on the Rebbe's grandfather, who's today's yahrzeit. Today's yahrzeit, the 23rd of Elul, is the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's grandfather, maternal grandfather, Rabbi Meir Shlomo Yanovsky. Rabbi Meir Shlomo is born to, we don't know exactly what year he was born, but sometime in the early 1850s. And he was born to his father, Yisrael Leib. Yanovsky was a yeshiva, and his mother, Bela Rivka, was the son of Avram David Lavut. He's a very famous Rav in Nikolaev. So his maternal grandfather was Avram David Lavut of Nikolaev. Avram David Lavut is an author of a number of Svarim, very famous figure, and this Meir Shlomo at a very young age displayed his aptitude for learning, and therefore he actually grew up. It seems like he kind of grew up with his grandfather. Under his grandfather's tutelage. And his grandfather taught him Torah, etc. In fact, many years later, when Avram David Lavut passed away, Avram David Lavut lived a very, very long life. He even was involved in his great-granddaughter's education, which is Rebbe Chana, Rebbe's mother, right? This Meir Shlomo is Rebbe's grandfather. His daughter Chana is Rebbe's mother. This Meir Shlomo. This Meir Shlomo learned by his grandfather from David Lavut. Now this Meir Shlomo's daughter, Rebbe Chana herself, learned by her great-grandfather from Lavut. They lived a very long life. But when he passed away, he left a letter to the community of Nikolaev, where he was the Rav, asking that his grandson, the Meir Shlomo, who I just described, grew up in his lap, learning from him, left a letter to the community requesting that he become the Rav, and he did. He became the Rav. Anyway, when he got married to a woman named Mrs. Rebbetzin Rachel Poznitz, and after he got married, he was like in Koilo by the Rebbe Marash. He was what they called the Zitzers, the Yeshvim, sit by the Rebbe Marash, the fourth Chabad Rebbe. He sat there, learned, and afterwards he spent some time even with the Rebbe Rashab. It seemed like, anyway, this just in parentheses, this Rebbetzin Rachel and Meir Shlomo, they each had a brother and a sister. So a brother and a sister married a brother and a sister. So Rebbetzin Rachel's brother, Poznitz, Rachel Poznitz, her brother Menachem Poznitz, married Meir Shlomo's sister Mindel. A brother and a sister married a brother and a sister. Now the other brother and sister, Mindel and Menachem Mendel, happened to be my great grandparents, or great three generations. No, my grandmother's grandparents. How many generations? How many greats is that?
That'd be your great
grandparents. It's a brother and sister married a brother and sister. Brother and sister being Mindel and Meir Shlomo, who married Rachel and Menachem Mendel Poznitz, and Mindel and Meir Shlomo Yanovsky.
They married their sisters.
A brother and a sister married a brother and a sister. A brother and a sister.
Same family. Different family.
No. A brother and a sister married a brother and a sister. Yeah, so Meir Shlomo married Rachel. And Rachel's brother married Meir Shlomo's sister, Menachem Mendel and Mindel. And they had a son, Isser, who had a son, Chasia, who had a daughter, Chasia, who had a son, Moshe, who had a son, Levi. That would be me. Give you the full names. Anyway, so this Meir Shlomo, after he learned by the Marash, he went back to his grandfather, Rabbi Avram David Lavut, and continued learning there. And as I mentioned, when Rabbi Avram David Lavut passed away, he left a letter to the community asking that his grandson become the Rav. And that's what happened. His grandson, Meir Shlomo, became the Rav of Nikolaev after his grandfather from David Lavut passed away. Now, this Meir Shlomo was known as a Baal Menagin, one who would sing very, very beautifully, composed Nugunim himself. Some Chabad Nugunim he composed. Most famously is Rachamana. The Nigun Rachamana, and they were saying this is a Nigun. Was composed by Rebbe's grandfather, Meir Shlomo Yanovsky. He was known. This is the way they referred to him as an Oyev Shalom u'Bareach Min HaKavod, which meant he was a pursuer of peace and ran away from honor. He was that kind of person. He was a very humble person, but a very kind person. And I don't know that we have any writings from him. It could be we do. I don't know, but we do know from other tshuvos, other responsa written from that era and that region, where people would say, and I consulted with Rabbi Meir Shlomo, and he told us this, and he said very nicely, and he organized this, and he organized that. So I'm not sure if we have writings from him directly. I don't know. Could be there are, but I do know for sure that there are other. Primarily, actually, there's a book of Chuvas written by the Dayan where he was Rav, and the Dayan, the judge, would write that I consulted with Rabbi Meir Shlomo, and he said very nicely this, and he said very nicely that, and things of that nature. So Meir Shlomo's niggin. Actually, the Rebbe taught that niggin. The Rebbe taught that niggin. I don't think, it seems like it was lost. The Chassidim didn't know it, and the Rebbe taught it to the community, and he taught it from his grandfather, from Rabbi Meir Shlomo. Yeah, Rabbi Meir Shlomo's had one son and 2 or maybe 3 daughters. I think 3 daughters. One of his daughters, Chana, married Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Schneerson, became the Rebbe's parents. Another daughter married Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's brother, Shmuel Schneerson. So, brothers married sisters, which means they couldn't really live in the same city. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak and Rabbi Tzachana moved out of Nikolaev. When they got married, Rabbi Tzachana and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, Rebbe's parents, which is Rabbi Meir Shlomo's daughter and son-in-law, they got married. They stayed in Nikolaev, and Rabbi Meir Shlomo paid for their living, paid for the living expenses, while Rabbi Levi Yitzchak spent his day learning all day long until he was hired as Rav in Yekaterinslav, which is a city, much bigger city actually, nearby. Because they were living there, the Rebbe's bris, which was in the middle of Pesach, was held in Rabbi Meir Shlomo's home, his grandparents' home. He was Rabbi Meir Shlomo, his son-in-law Levi Yitzchak, became the Rav in Yekaterinslav, and his son-in-law Shmuel Schneerson, Rabbi Levi's brother, succeeded him as the Rav in Nikolaev. And it seems that Rabbi Shmuel Schneerson, the son-in-law, was like Meir Shlomo's right-hand man in his work. And there was one particular writing when someone says he came to town for some matter of the community, and Rabbi Shmuel and his father-in-law Rabbi Meir Shlomo helped us out in whatever it was. So it seems like they worked together very closely. He had one son, as I mentioned, whose name was maybe Yisrael Ayaleib or something, named after his father, something like that, I think, something like that name. But he died very young, and this died from typhus. And this passing of his son caused him great and deep sadness, you can imagine, to the point that he was incapable of getting his job, getting his work done. It's extremely despondent. Got to the point where the Chabad Rebbe at the time, Rabbi Shalom Rebbe, the Rashab, 5th Chabad Rebbe, sent him a letter, rather famous letter, dated just before Nisan, just before Pesach, a letter comforting him and giving him a regiment of learning to get out of his state, telling him to learn the chapters of Tanya that we've been finishing learning over Shabbos, chapter 26 through 34. They should learn those again, and every day learn a chapter and learn it again and again and again to remind them that this is not the way to live. And in there, actually, the Rebbe Rashab recommends that he learn certain Hasidic discourses from his father, the Rebbe Marash, the 4th Chabad Rebbe, and he tells him, if you can, learn it with your son-in-law, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. Like he should learn with his son-in-law, Bechavrusa, learn this Torah, which will help him get out of his state. The story goes that he himself got typhus, and at the time, because they didn't have a cure, and they didn't want the spread, they would actually put you in isolation outside of the city, which is very, very depressing. People would die their lives out there. So I don't know if he survived this sickness or this is the sickness he died from. I don't know. But the story goes that he was out of the city, and in this isolation, he couldn't meet with anybody. So Rabbi Usher Grossman, I think his name was the Rav, who was the Sheikhet, the ritual slaughterer in Nikolaev. Right, this is the Rav from Meir Shlomo, and the Sheikhet Rabbi Usher. And this Rabbi Usher would go take a Tanya and sit outside of Meir Shlomo's room and read the famous letter from the Alter Rebbe called Askil Chabina, in which the Alter Rebbe explained that everything that happens from Hashem is good, and therefore one cannot be depressed over that which is negative in one's life. Every single day, going out there and reading it out loud, word for word, by the window of Meir Shlomo, so he can learn through the voice of his shaykhit in the room over. It says that the story goes that it lasted for a month. Every day we do this. I don't know if it got better or whatever. Anyway, his wife Rachel died. He passed away. Meir Shlomo passed away in today's his Yartzeit Chav Gimel El Tafir Tzadik Gimel, which is 1933, and his wife Rachel died later at the hands of the Nazis. Did I miss anything? No, I think that's quick and brief bio on Meir Shlomo Yanovsky. There was one picture that they have of him, actually. It's a very beautiful picture. I don't have it here, but you can look it up online probably. If you Google it, Meir Shlomo, it's a beautiful picture of him davening in talis and tefillin with a very... his face is expressive of his state of davening, the state of prayer. And they found this picture hanging in Rebbe's mother's house, which would be her father, after she passed away. And when they brought it to the Rebbe acknowledged, this is my grandfather, Meir Shlomo. Yeah, also I forgot to mention that when Rebbe was younger, just after Rebbe's parents moved to Yekaterinslav to become the Rav, the Rebbe used to spend the summers back in Nikolaev, living with his grandparents, Meir Shlomo and Rebbe Rachel. And Rebbe talked about those memories very fondly, that his grandmother would take care of him and he would spend time with his grandfather. Okay.